Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Cart Barn Podcast. I'm Chris Lemley, joined by Greg DeWalt. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your day to listen to this podcast. We really do appreciate it. Greg, we have a really interesting guest today, someone I believe everyone in the state of Alabama, really the country that follows golf at all, is going to know this name, Gordon Sargent.
Gordon Sargent, high school star at Mountain Brook, where he was a part of possibly the greatest performance in Alabama high school golf history. Their team shot 32 under to win the state 7A title back when Gordon was still just a young pup. Of course, he went on to stardom at Vanderbilt, became the number one amateur in the world, and more impressively, became the first player to advance to the PGA Tour through the PGA Accelerated program. He's just now starting his pro career. He's had some tour starts, but he's diving in full season this year. I think everybody's going to listen and enjoy listening to his story about from the beginnings to where he's at now.
Yeah, the tour kicks off this week. We thought this was a appropriate time to air the Gordon interview. So as the tour gets started tomorrow at the Sony Open in Hawaii, here's this week's edition of the Cart Barn with Gordon Sargent. Welcome, everyone, to the Cart Barn Podcast. Today, we are joined by Birmingham native, former number one ranked player, Gordon Sargent. Gordon, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Gordon, from, as you mentioned earlier, from sunny, cold Birmingham, Alabama.
It is not warm. It's sunny and cold. That's true.
Yeah.
So just kind of dive right into your background as a junior. Who got you started in the game? Where did you grow up playing? And what lessons did you take away from that as your career advanced?
Yeah, my dad's a big golfer, so I've been around the game since I was there's a picture of me when I was less than one out at the course just hanging out, not necessarily playing, but I've been around it my whole life. Played basketball, baseball, and golf pretty seriously till I was about 13. Obviously just did them all for fun, hang out with my friends, be competitive. And then, kind of decided I wanted to play solely golf when I was 13, 14. But I grew up playing at Birmingham Country Club. There's they have a really good junior program out there. So that definitely helped me. Want to go out to the course, hang out with my friends. And then ultimately, as I got older, I kind of enjoyed getting better at things and wanted to kind of take it seriously, like I said. So, back in Birmingham now. But my dad definitely had a big influence on me. And then just kind of having a good group of guys to play with. I think when you're 12, 13, if you're forced into it, it definitely doesn't make it as enjoyable, but having a good group of kids around you kind of made us all want to go out to the course.
Anybody in particular that kind of mentored you, the 17 or 18-year-old kid that you looked up to when you were 13 or 14?
Yeah, Ben Fuller, who played golf at Alabama. He's a really good friend of mine that was someone who was, I guess, Ben's 4 years older than me. So just kind of being around him. And then a couple of Vandy guys, actually. Patrick Martin, being from Birmingham, kind of got to know him. When I was when he had just graduated college, I kind of started playing a lot with him when I was back home. And then, just kind of, we have a good group of guys in Birmingham to play with. When I was kind of 16, started going to Shoal Creek, and there's a bunch of pro guys out there. So kind of just picking all their brains and seeing how they go about their business.
How much did that kind of impact you now, just as far as mentoring or being approachable? Because lots of times when you're a kid, you don't want to approach the PGA Tour guy that's practicing, or you see him on the putting green.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you have to balance. Obviously when you're at the course, you're there to kind of get your work done, but you kind of have the mindset of everyone's been a kid at some point. So definitely wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for older kids kind of taking me under their wing, people wanting to give advice. So you want to welcome that. Just kind of help kids understand that it really is just a game, show them how they can get better, kind of try and lead by example a little bit. But definitely being approachable, willing to answer questions is something that I've tried to stay true to. It's not always easy when you're at the course if things aren't necessarily going your way, or something's bothering you. But yeah, definitely when you're out at the course, try and balance the getting your work done and also helping those around you.
I think I'm going to jump right into your high school career, and doing some research. And back when I was covering high school golf at the paper up here in Florence, I'm going to call the 2018 Mountain Brook team the greatest high school team in state history. Just to let listeners know, you guys shot 32 under over 2 days, I think. You, William Wan, Ford Clegg, Reynolds Lambert, and I'm forgetting somebody.
Max Scott was the fifth.
Two, 269 the first day, 275 the second day.
Wow.
Where would you rank that in AHSAA history?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We had Reynolds and Mack went to Furman to play golf. William and Ford played golf at Mississippi State. And then I went to Vandy. So we had a good group of guys that all kind of shared a common interest of like we wanted to go beat everybody, but also have a good time. You know, we all wanted to play golf at the next level, and we saw high school golf as that kind of stepping stone. But we also kind of cherished high school golf for what it was. You know, it's obviously not the most serious at sometimes, but when we were out on the course, we were having a good time while also trying to shoot the best score we could. So that team was pretty sporty. And yeah, we kind of, the running thing was we didn't want to be the drop score because obviously it's 5 count 4. So it was like you'd have to play pretty good to not be that worst score. So that was kind of the running goal.
You know, Ford and William are still playing professionally. And I think Reynolds and Mack are in finance or some high level.
That's correct.
Paying job right now. So, but what was the dynamic of that? Were you guys trying to beat each other too? And you know, how much fun did you have?
Yeah, we definitely all tried to beat each other. You know, obviously it was kind of a stepping stone to college golf. Obviously it was only 2-day events. But yeah, we all traveled together, stay in hotel rooms together, and yeah, just kind of practice together most of the time too. So it was kind of we worked towards one common goal. And you know, we were cheering for each other, but also wanted to beat each other really bad. So I think it's kind of a smaller scale college golf, but it was definitely high level competition. There are some other good schools in the state. So high school golf was definitely taken relatively seriously.
Well, that next year you guys repeated, and there was a pretty good player for Spain Park that was on that team that you guys beat too, wasn't there?
Yeah, Spain Park had a really good team. Nick Dunlap played for Spain Park. Nick Robillard, Ethan Haygood. They had a really good 5-man lineup as well. So it's kind of, you know, having good teams around you definitely push you to play good golf. But yeah, just having fun with it at the end of the day. But nobody on our team liked to lose.
So you finished up high school and transitioned into college. Was it a difficult decision to go out of state?
No, it was a pretty easy decision. When I first visited Vanderbilt, I knew that was the place for me. I was fortunate to get to know the guys that I was going to be teammates with, just through junior golf, and yeah, just kind of having that environment where I feel like I could get a good education, have a really good team of guys to play with, but also hang out with, and then yeah, obviously Vanderbilt's had a lot of previous success under Coach Limbaugh, so kind of a culmination of those factors. And then being in Nashville, being, you know, far enough away from home, but only 3 hours at the same time. So once I visited there, it was kind of checked all the boxes, and I knew I wanted to be there. And yeah, the transition was definitely different, but I feel like the high school golf kind of helped me. You know, I was basically playing with college golfers in high school golf, so that really helped. And then I was kind of fortunate during COVID. Just COVID hit my junior year of high school, so my senior year was kind of like you had a lot of free time. You didn't really have much to do. We had class every other day, so it was like you kind of had to learn how to balance your schedule and stuff. And so that's obviously kind of what college is like. Of, you know, you have class half the day or every other day and stuff like that. So you kind of got to balance when you're going to play golf, when you're going to hang with your friends, and then really compartmentalizing kind of what you're doing and when you're doing it, and not when we're in the classroom, we're focused on school. When we're playing golf, focused on golf. So the transition was definitely different, but having a firm foundation from high school golf, and then everyone on the team was super helpful. So it was definitely one of the better choices I've made in my life.
When what was your class load like at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I came in with some hours. I decided I want to major in economics pretty early, so there was a couple prereq classes that I had to knock out. Say most semesters were, I'd say probably half the semesters I had 15 hours, so 5 classes, and then probably the other half 12 hours, which would be 4 classes. And then my final semester I had only 2 classes, which was nice. It was you had to have a minimum of 12 hours, and then that last semester you just need however many you need to graduate. So it was a heavy class load, but I think just with the guys on the team, we all prioritized our classwork, and that was kind of what we had an emphasis on, of whatever we were doing, we were going to do it to our best ability. So kind of nice to have that routine. You have to, it's kind of makes you forget about golf a little bit, which can be a good balance sometimes.
What was your hardest class you took at Vandy?
Hardest class, probably econometrics. It was a mix of like calculus, economics, and coding, which I did not know how to code going into it. So that was that made it very difficult.
Would you pull an A anyway?
No, I didn't. I think I got I think I got a B plus in it. I had a friend that knew how to code, so he kind of walked me through it a little bit. And then the nice thing was with economics has always come pretty easy to me, just like it's always made sense. So I could kind of just at least write something down on the paper that made sense. So she'd have to give me some partial credit.
Well, Vandy's had built a new facility there, I guess, about the time you got there. Is that correct?
They redid kind of our outdoor area in between my sophomore and junior year, and then the building was under construction pretty much my whole junior year, and then opened up kind of beginning of senior year. So the first 2 years was kind of all normal, and then we left for summer break, and then everything was back open on the outdoor side, and then the building was under construction for junior year.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
It's super nice. Yeah, we're definitely really spoiled. I think we definitely took it for granted a little bit, just having all the resources and stuff right there, but definitely a huge help in recruiting and making people better too.
What courses did y'all have access to up around Nashville?
So our facility was at Vanderbilt Legends Club, which has 36 holes, and then we had memberships at Golf Club of Tennessee, which they have 2 courses there as well. So we'd play a lot of qualifying at Legends or either Golf Club of Tennessee, and then we would go. Legends is Bermuda grass. When it got cold, we'd go out to Belle Meade a little bit, and then a couple other courses. Hillwood is one, Richland is another. There's a lot of golf, kind of unnoticed golf in Nashville. So we had plenty of resources, but we would have most of our practices at Legends. We probably spent 75% of the time out at Legends, and then the other time we'd be playing somewhere.
Could you just show up somewhere and say, "Hey, I'm Gordon Sargent with Vandy," and they welcome you with open arms?
No, coach would tell us where we were playing for qualifying, and we would show up there before the tee time. But Legends treated us really well. We have a center facility there, but Micah Hicks, the head pro, was super gracious to us. It'd be a Saturday morning, and he'd fit us in on the tee sheet or whatever it may be. So we were fortunate to kind of have access there. And yeah, we spent a lot of days there. You could get there at 8 a.m. and with our new facility, you could leave at 8 p.m. So it was definitely a good spot.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your relationship with Coach Limbaugh, another Alabama guy. When did you first meet him, and how much of an influence did that have on you going to Vandy?
Yeah, so when I was getting recruited, obviously Coach Limbaugh's from Alabama, but Gator Todd was the assistant, who's also from Alabama as well. So I definitely had some Alabama ties. The first time I met them, I was probably 13 or 14. I remember Gator came and watched me play a tournament in Memphis, and that was the first time a Vandy coach had recruited me. And then I ended up committing right before I turned 16. So they have the new rule now, but you can't really talk to the coaches before your junior year. But I was kind of ahead of that, so I'd known the coaches for a while, and then it was kind of weird. Like the month after I committed, they announced the new rule, so I couldn't really talk to them very much. And then COVID hit, so like my 3 years, the coaches didn't see me play golf for like a year and a half before college, which was definitely interesting. So it was definitely different in the recruiting cycle. Like I never took a true official visit. But yeah, so I obviously knew the coaches for a while. I could make my way up to Nashville every now and then with it being an easy drive from Birmingham. But then, yeah, our kind of relationship definitely took off when I got to school and came in with as a freshman with who definitely thought a lot of himself and needed a kicking in the butt.
Did Gator ever beat you on the course?
Oh, I don't know. Gator couldn't beat me. He could beat a couple guys on the team, but he was always scared of me for some reason. He would participate in practices every now and then, and he would definitely beat guys. But I think he can kind of convince himself that he couldn't beat me, or he was just trying to be nice and let me have some confidence.
I've known Gator since he was in high school. That's kind of how old I am. But yeah, he was a good stick in high school and college.
He played a lot with us, and he definitely played well. We did we do a black and gold kind of team thing each year. So if we'd have 10 guys on the team, we'd have 5 guys be on the black team and 5 on the gold team. And my freshman year, we only had 9 on the team, so Gator had to play. But we were on the same team, so we never really played against each other much. But he would definitely win some points for the black team that year.
How has NIL changed? You didn't come out of high school, but you came out before NIL kind of hit. But what was that dynamic like as you got into it?
It was definitely interesting. I don't think I truly know how it works, especially in the golf side yet. It's obviously influencing kids' decisions where they go. You see it more in the football, baseball, basketball. But yeah, it's like the NIL was more kind of like outside companies, because I had a Titleist and NIL and a Nike NIL. So during the summers I would wear that, but like during school golf, it was kind of wearing Vanderbilt and all that stuff. So it's definitely interesting. I wish I knew too much more of it. It's weird in the golf space of that. Obviously the golfers aren't generating a ton of revenue for the school, if any. We see it play a major role in football and other sports like that, but it definitely has changed the golf world. In recruiting, you kind of have to talk about it now, but yeah, the 4 years I was there, it wasn't really a big it wasn't too prominent on our team, and but yeah, it's interesting to see where it's going with college golf.
Yeah.
How did the equipment and the apparel contracts work for you? Because I think when I was growing up playing, I mean, you would lose your amateur status if you'd signed with a company. How did that come about, and how did you kind of decide on what to do with those contracts?
Yeah, so I played Titleist my whole life. So that when I showed up to school, we were a PXG school, but we just had to use the PXG bag. So I didn't change clubs at all. And then we were a Nike school as well. So I showed up to school wearing FootJoy clothes, started wearing Nike when we were in school. And then my junior and senior year had NIL deals with Titleist and Nike, which basically meant I would wear those in tournaments, would wear Nike in tournaments outside of Vanderbilt, and then obviously play Titleist clubs. So it was nice that it was not really a transition for me. I was already playing Titleist and wearing Nike in school. So it was kind of just a little extra money in your pocket. And then during the summer months, it helped. I would just wear Nike and then just continue playing the clubs I was playing. So it was nice. I didn't really have to switch anything. It was a pretty easy transition, and then an easy transition to pro golf as well.
Did other companies approach you about playing their equipment and apparel, or?
Yeah, I've kind of stayed true to Titleist. I kind of trust all their equipment, so I didn't really venture out in that aspect at all. And then, a couple other companies in the apparel side, but with us wearing Nike at school, and it was just made an easy transition, and knowing that I could be wearing the same stuff from summer events to school events as well.
I'm curious, being a Titleist guy, have you been out to the TPI with Greg Rose?
I have, yeah. I was out there, I guess, about a year ago. And then I've been out to just kind of do the club stuff probably a handful of times. So it's a really cool facility. You can kind of do anything you need to do out there. And yeah, it definitely checks all the boxes.
Well, you care to elaborate a little bit about your experience at the TPI,
Yeah.
Tyler
So
Performance Institute, for those that
yeah,
don't?
so I've done the club stuff a couple times, and then like that's just kind of the fitting side of it. And then I did the Greg Rose stuff last December. And so he kind of runs you through a full physical assessment, kind of sees where your strengths and weaknesses are, and then kind of how that affects your swing. So he didn't tell me too much. He kind of gave me like a stretching routine to do. That would just like help prevent
Mhm.
injury, make sure your body's kind of feeling the same each day and all that different stuff. But he didn't really, I mean, he didn't tell me to change much. There's maybe just a few little things in the setup, but other than that, kind of just swing and yeah, let kind of the hard work you've put in take over.
I find that to be a pretty interesting dynamic and how it's changing the way people are teaching golf.
For sure, yeah. It's the TPI stuff's very good for injury prevention. Obviously they have a lot of data and stuff, but you definitely have to be careful and not try and change your swing to a certain way or um, yeah, kind of just slightly make it better versus an overhaul in a sense.
When did you kind of first think, hey, I can do the pro golf thing? When it was after your freshman year at Vanderbilt? Before you got to Vanderbilt, did we all want to play on the PGA Tour, but there comes a moment when most of us say that's not attainable. When did you think, hey, I can do this?
I would say probably when I was like started looking at colleges, I kind of saw it more as like a stepping stone to pro golf. So that's kind of when I had dreams of it. And then, yeah, I'd say kind of throughout freshman year, it definitely became more of a reality of like something I was going to do after school. But yeah, I've always had dreams of it. But yeah, it's in junior or senior year of high school, and then freshman year of college was kind of when I felt like I could I really wanted to play pro golf. And yeah, it was nice that all the guys on the team had the same mindset. So we were all kind of pushing each other each day to, perform not only in college, but also get ready for the next step as well.
Yeah, well, speaking of your freshman year at Vandy, ended the season with a really good a good tournament win there. I remember watching the NCAA's in that playoff. The tee shot you hit there is hard for me to imagine. You want to tell a little bit about that playoff and winning the individual title as well?
Yeah, obviously, being from Birmingham, not a ton of like desert golf experience. It's hot and at elevation, so the ball goes far. Um, and yeah, it's one of those courses that you kind of are forced a little bit off the tee to hit a certain club. I hit a lot of kind of driving irons that week just to get the ball in play.
Mm-hmm.
And 18 was one of like two holes all week that I actually hit driver on. So it's kind of nice to play a hole in the playoff that I was kind of had an advantage in and could hit driver off the tee. So yeah, it was the bunker on the left is kind of not the best spot to be, but it's almost like where it forces you to hit it. So you kind of are trying to hit it like 2 yards right of that bunker. And I'd hit a really good one in regulation and then probably missed about a 18, 20 footer. But then, yeah, it was nice that I didn't really have to wait after regulation for the playoff. And yeah, I kind of just stepped up and yeah, I kind of tried to just get out of my own way in a sense and swing the club and try and execute, not trying to overthink it.
He hit a great shot in there and then made what I would consider a really great putt. And there had to be a little bit of pressure. It looked like you just kind of went through your process and just knocked it in.
Yeah, definitely nervous. I feel like it helped a little bit of the fact that like it wasn't the end all be all, and the fact that we were the number one seed match play and we're playing golf the next day regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely once in a lifetime opportunities there. And when you have that putt, you kind of have to, especially in a 4-man playoff. It's like when you have a birdie putt to win, you kind of have to go snatch it. Those don't come around too often. So yeah, I try to just go through my process, see the ball going in the hole, and then just execute.
How do you get out of your own way in that situation where you're not thinking about what the outcome is, just to stay, in your process, as you say?
Yeah. it sounds like way easier than it actually is, but it's almost like it's like trying less. Like the harder I try to make a putt, like the harder it becomes in a sense of like you feel like you have to do more things. So it's like, I talk about chasing this feeling of you're not really doing anything out there except just like reacting. And that's kind of where like I tried to get in a sense where it was like I was just kind of, I putt with the line of my ball. So it was like, the only thing I could really control was just putting it down that line. Like I've already read the putt. Like we don't know if the read's right or not, but it's just like as long as I putt it down this line and have the speed I'm trying to hit it on, there's not much we can do after. So it was, I hit it a little firm, but had a good read on it. So it kind of caught the left edge and went in.
It's interesting you mentioned that we have Stuart Sink on this week, and he was telling us about avoiding distractions on the course, and it's not a car horn going off in his backswing or something. It's little distractions that he has a bet with his caddy, and every time he lets a distraction get in his way of a shot, he owes his caddy $20 or something like that. And I thought that was kind of fascinating and something most people can really kind of take with them, regardless of how good you play.
Can you say that last part again? Sorry, I cut out for a second.
It's just not avoiding distractions. Just is something that any golfer can really kind of take with them to the course and implement, regardless of how good you play.
Yeah, it's tough. I think you don't want to be like too locked in a sense where like all you're thinking about is golf. Like especially when you leave the golf course, like the last thing you want to do, if you think about golf, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So I'd say like focusing more on, those distractions are one of the few things in golf that you can control, right? Like you can't control a lot of it. But yeah, like when you're over a shot, if you're focusing on the right things versus things that are trying to distract you, like for example, if you're thinking about a water hazard or something, like that's something in the hole that's trying to distract you in a way. So I think just kind of focus on what you can control, almost fall in love with the process and the preparation. And then by the time you get to the course or over the shot, all you can really do is kind of execute and let let the work you've put in, kind of just take care of itself. So yeah, it's way easier said than done. It's one of those things that it's like, you can almost feel guilty that you're not doing enough over a shot. But yeah, the golf's one of the few sports that it's like you have so much time in between each shot, and that you have to really kind of calm your brain and like maybe you think about something else. And in between shots, golf can almost be a distraction if you're thinking about your swing or something like that.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the water hazard, because that's one of the exact examples he used. Like if there's a water hazard left, and he said that's a distraction, and you can't focus on that or be distracted by the shots you want to hit. And then he basically said, if you hit the shots you want and it goes in the water, what went in the water, you can't, that's something you can't control, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the more you think about it, the more likely you're probably going to hit it in it. So it's like, and your brain knows that you're not trying to hit it in it. Like your brain knows what to do. So it's like the less you think about it, then, like when I step up on a hole, I don't have to try harder to hit it in the fairway. Like I already know I'm supposed to hit it in the fairway. So now it's like getting out of your own way to let that happen.
Yeah. Well, you came along at a good time in regards to getting onto the PGA Tour, given the PGA, I forget exactly what it's called, the accelerated program through college. I think you might have been the first to qualify through the point system. That's got to be kind of a tremendous relief. You don't have to go through the rigors, or didn't have to go through the rigors of Q school.
For sure, yeah. It was it came out, I believe my freshman year, maybe might have been the first year of PGA Tour U, and I think the top 5 guys just got Korn Ferry status, and that was kind of the only thing they announced. And then it's kind of obviously progressed to where it is now. But yeah, I think midway through my sophomore year, they announced the PGA Tour Accelerated, and I had a couple points in it just through winning NCAAs and a few other things, and then kind of through sophomore year, various tournaments, World Amateur Golf ranking and stuff, it became more apparent that it was something that I could actually achieve. So I kind of started not chasing it a little bit, but after my sophomore year, I played, made the cut at the U.S. Open, which got me a couple points, and then I played 2 more PGA Tour events, and those I played the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere, and it was like basically if things kind of fell into place, I needed to make one of those 2 cuts, and made the cut at John Deere. So then made the Walker Cup team junior year, and then played the World Am in Abu Dhabi October of my junior year, and that was my 20th point. So it was like I basically had 6 to 7 months that I could have left after junior year, turned pro through that system, or I had the option to return to school. And it was kind of one of those things that, and for me, at least in college, there's not really much better being with a bunch of other guys, having a good time, but just kind of going through life at the same time, because there's nothing quite like it. So I made the decision to return, and yeah, it was one of those things that was kind of a no-brainer to me.
I think it's probably a good idea. I mean, pro golf's going to be there. You're only young once, right?
For sure, yeah. If you talk to anybody on the PGA Tour that played college golf, they'll tell you that if they could have taken another year, they would have for sure. So it's kind of those things that I talked to some older guys and people around me, and it just became more clear that pro golf's always going to be there. There's nothing I'm going to lose from going back to school for another year. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
Well, Gordon, what professional golfers did you look up to? Who was the guy that you were always watching and wanted to emulate?
Yeah, I think it was definitely some of the guys that were young when I was like 12, 13, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Ricky Fowler, guys like that are kind of making a jump on the scene. And it was really, they didn't seem that much older than me at the time. It felt like that could be me in a few years. So guys like that were probably the people I looked up to most and enjoyed watching, and seeing them have success at an early age was something that inspired me, and then also inspired the belief of that I could be there in a couple of years too.
When you watched Nick Dunlap win as an amateur on tour, I mean, was that mind blowing to see that transpire?
Yeah, it was really cool. I'd played Walker Cup with him. We were partners like 6 months before, and then we'd have gone to Abu Dhabi, like I mentioned, together as well. So it was like I'd played a lot of golf with him, seen his game up close, and yeah, I remember we were all watching him come down the stretch in Amex, and everybody was pulling for him. So it was really cool to see him. And then, yeah, it just kind of gives obviously seeing him win is cool, but it also gives all those people around him that have played with him some confidence that they can do the same.
Well, and both of you being from the state of Alabama and being 1 and 2 in the world amateur rankings at the same time was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. We're going to play the Zurich Classic next year together as well. So I think we're both looking forward to that.
Awesome.
How, of course, his situation was different winning. I mean, would you have done the same thing he did at Turn Pro after winning the?
Yeah, for sure. I think he was obviously in a situation where he's going to have his tour card for another 2.5 years, and he's in all the signature events. So it's kind of it was definitely a no-brainer on his part to turn pro. And yeah, as much as it, you don't want to say it stinks that he had to turn pro, but I definitely think he would have loved to finish out his college career. But at the time, that's what made sense, and he made the right decision.
Yeah.
So let's kind of move forward. You're now a PGA Tour member. Can take us through what your status is for 2026 and what your schedule is going to be like.
Yeah, so through the PGA Tour U, we have there's 3 of us in this category this year, so we all have full status. So we'll play start out the year in Hawaii, and then play Amex, which is out in Palm Springs, and then Torrey Pines. So those will be my first 3. Phoenix Open is kind of maybe get into. Depends on how many guys in front of me play. And then, Florida Swing, and then it'll be almost summertime by then, so it'll definitely go by fast. I think all the guys that came out with me, I think we're looking forward to getting to the summer where we'll play some events that we're familiar with. Just because seeing new golf courses for the first time is definitely tough, and going to places that you've never been before, you're kind of just trying to figure out where to stay, where to eat, and all those different things. But so I'll have full status for 26 and play most of the events.
It's different being out there by yourself as opposed to being with a team, of your teammates, where travel arrangements were made through the school, and your meals it's totally different. So what have you learned in your limited experience about the rigors of the pro life?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think you take for granted when you travel with 5 other players and 2, 3 coaches. Because if you're the player, all you got to do is basically just show up in the lobby at the right time in the right clothes. Um, so yeah, it definitely makes it nice, but also kind of just the camaraderie on the road makes you kind of forget about golf. Go to dinner with guys, just be hanging out, having a good time, and then yeah, pro golf's definitely different. Everyone's kind of on their own schedules, so you have friends out there, but one day he may be playing the back nine and the practice round, and you need to play the front that day. So just having people's schedules line up is tough. And then yeah, if you don't make arrangements, you could be going to dinner by yourself or staying by yourself. So I've tried to do a good job of staying with different guys, going to dinner with guys each night, kind of planning those out just so it's not just so you're not by yourself all the time because yeah, when you're on the golf course, it's really just you and your caddy. So you try and make friends out there, but it's tough when everyone's on different schedules and everyone's friendly, but it's tough to have everyone's schedules aligned.
Are you in the Masters this year?
I'm not, no.
Okay. Not yet.
Not yet.
Well, so let's back up just a minute. Greg, you may have something else you want to go, but in 2023, you got an invite, and you want to tell a little bit about that experience. And I think you might have an interesting story about being mistaken for one of the drive, chip, and putt guys, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, it was funny. So obviously I had no idea that I was getting an invite. It ultimately turned into the fact that they were announcing that the NCAA champion was going to start getting an invitation through college golf, which is really cool. So
That is cool.
Yeah, I showed up on Sunday before and was going to go play 9, and I was just trying to figure out where to go, where player dining was, where to get something to eat, and the drive chip and putt was going on, which I guess the oldest is maybe 15 or 16. And I mean, I didn't look much more than 15 or 16. So I was like asking the people where to walk around, where to go. And they were basically just asking me where my parents were. And I was like, they're not here. Like they're coming on Wednesday. I don't know. And so it was a funny story. It ended up, I had to like I wasn't wearing my badge. I just had it in my pocket. But once I showed them my badge, it all got cleared up. But yeah, it was a really special week. To represent college golf in Vanderbilt at the time. And then a bunch of my teammates, coaches came as well. Had a good friend on the bag too. So it was a cool week, something I'll never forget. I guess that was my first tour start. So it was definitely eye-opening, but yeah, definitely helped me learn a lot to take back to college golf. And then ultimately when I start my pro career.
What was it like standing on the first tee, getting ready to hit that opening tee shot, which is not an easy tee shot?
It's not an easy tee shot, and it feels like because the tee box is lined with people and nobody has their phones, everybody seems like they're just staring at you, and it's like you feel like you're hitting down a hallway. So it's like you kind of just, in a sense, like I don't really remember it too well of like what I was thinking or anything. And then that's where it's like just muscle memory kind of takes over, and the next thing you know, you're like kind of walking off the tee box trying to figure out what just happened. So it was a really cool moment. Probably the most nervous I've ever been. It was funny. I played a college event the next week, and I just remember like on the first tee, I was like, I did not feel the same last week on the first tee. But no, it was super cool.
Did you stripe it or?
I did stripe it. Yeah, that was probably the best tee shot I hit all week too.
That's cool.
Tell us about the greens at Augusta. I mean, obviously they're incredible. What was it like the first time you saw them and were putting on them?
Yeah, so I went a couple of times before the event just to kind of get a game plan for the course, see the course, and just so that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it wasn't so much like cramming in some knowledge. So first time I saw them, they're not slow, but they're slower than they are Masters week. So you kind of don't think too much of them. But then, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they kind of start to speed up, and you really kind of realize that anything above the hole is tough. You'd almost rather be off the green short, chipping uphill, than 20 feet above the hole sometimes. So it's like you just definitely have to have that knowledge. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're super fair. You just have to execute. You can't get away with a ton of shots. You kind of have to be pretty precise, especially into the greens. And yeah, just keeping the ball in the right spot is key.
Had you played Augusta before those 2 practice rounds?
So I went spring break. So I went like March before the Masters. I played 4 rounds then. And then I'd been once, probably 4 or 5 years ago, with a family friend.
Cool. Did you stay in the crow's nest?
I stayed in the crow's nest Monday night after the amateur dinner with all the other amateurs. So that was cool. It was at 5 a.m. when the kitchen starts working the next morning, everybody's up, but it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
Who do you call to set up those spring break practice rounds? You just call the front desk and say, "Hey, it's Gordon. I'm coming down. I want to come play."
I don't know. I don't remember who I called. Someone. Yeah, there was some number that you called, and they got you to the pro shop, and they got you set up. But yeah, it was super nice. They were super accommodating and made sure you had everything you needed.
They didn't say Gordon who?
I don't know. They probably did. But no, it was super cool.
That's who's on your bag this year?
A guy named Travis McAllister. He caddied for Maverick Neely for 7 years, and then last summer I started working with him. So a year and a half ago, he caddied for me at the U.S. Amateur, and then the Jones Cup about a year ago, and then he's been on my bag since Canadian Open, which was my first start. And then so he'll do. We're starting in Sony this year in Hawaii.
Do you have a tournament that you're looking forward to playing? Event you've never played, or a course?
I would say Torrey Pines is the one that I'm most looking forward to. I've been out to San Diego a bunch, but never played Torrey. And yeah, it's from what I've heard, it's you hit driver on every hole except the par 3. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Well, that's definitely a weapon for you. Who do you work with? Who did you start working with early on from a teaching?
Yeah, so I worked with a guy named Eric Williamson, who was the head pro at Shoal Creek for a really long time. But right now I'm currently working with Scott Hamilton, who lives in Cartersville, Georgia. So I've been working with him for about a year now.
How do you go about picking a teacher who you work with?
It's tough. I mean, they're all really good. They all know what they're talking about, but the biggest thing is kind of the communication side of like how they tell you kind of what you need to work on. There's technical guys, there's field guys, there's a bunch of different ways. So I think kind of having, for me personally, someone that's really laid back, keeps it pretty simple. I've always kind of found if I have a good setup and kind of start my takeaway pretty good, then usually everything kind of falls in place. So kind of just having someone that can, kind of help me do the basics really well. And then if something gets off a little bit, have eyes on, but nothing. I don't usually try not to get too in the weeds in it.
Speaking of your driver as a weapon, you're cruising in the 180, mid to upper 180s. I know that I saw something where you got up nearly 200 mile an hour ball speed. That's hard.
187 is like me swinging as hard as I can, but I'd say normal is probably 184 to 185, 186.
What is that, about a 320, 330 carry?
Yeah, somewhere in there. It depends on the launch, obviously, but somewhere around there is usually pretty accurate.
Have you always been long off the tee, going back to your days at Mountain Brook?
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of small, so in playing baseball, I was kind of just taught to hit it as hard as I could. So that kind of transitioned to the golf course, and then I would say junior year of high school is kind of when I grew a little bit, started kind of working out and stuff, and that's where I started hitting it further. So ever since then, I've been pretty long off the tee.
What shocked you the most when you got out and were playing in tour events?
I'd say that the golf is really not that much different. I mean, obviously you're playing different courses and like the competition level is higher, but at the end of the day, it's still like a 7-iron on a tee to a par 3, and it's not like you have to do anything different. Like you have to play better golf in a sense, but it's it's still the same game at the same time. You don't have to necessarily try harder in a sense. So I'd say, I obviously played a decent amount of tour events when I was in school, so I kind of had a sense of that. But I think just, fall in love with doing the little things right. Not making those stupid kind of mistakes out there, and yeah, just executing there's going to be a couple of tough shots around, and executing those to the best of your ability. But yeah, the simple chips, the kind of wedge shots, making some birdies with some wedges, and then yeah, just kind of doing the right things throughout the round will equate to kind of what you need to do. Where maybe in college you could get away with being a little sloppier.
I think one thing that's kind of shocked me is everybody thinks that on PGA Tour people are just flag hunting on all their approach shots, but that's not really the case. I mean, there's not that many pins that you guys really go after per se. It's a lot of it's middle of the green, leave 15, 20 feet as opposed to just trying to shoot it in there 5 feet or less.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say, anything with a wedge, guys will take pretty much dead aim. Obviously you might get a couple tough pins where you're aiming a couple steps left of it or whatever that may be. Yeah, anything under a 8-iron, you can be kind of aggressive, but it is, if anything more than an 8-iron, if you hit the green, you're really not losing any shots. So it's kind of, you think when you have a 6-iron in your hand, you got to make a birdie, but it's like this, hitting it to the middle of the green and 2-putting is going to gain you shots every single time. So that's kind of where it's like, doing the little things a little better of like, if you have a good number and it fits your eye and stuff, you can be aggressive, but it's like, you're probably going to have 4 or 5 good numbers around. And then the rest of the round, it's kind of just managing it. Because if you look out there, most everybody makes a lot of birdies, and it's more so just kind of that bogey avoidance. And that's kind of where it's the picking the good targets, kind of hitting it to the middle of the green or kind of doing the right thing if you're out of position. And then, just kind of letting your short game take over. And then, if you're knocking a couple putts around, that adds up to 4 or 5 under, which is never bad anywhere.
I know another tidbit Stuart shared with us was how when he was coming up in the 90s and early 2000s, 4 paces was about as close as they would get to the edge, and now it's about 3. They'll get about 3, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I'd say there's usually each round. I think it's easy to think like Sunday pins. There's 18 really hard ones, which is just not the case. I think it's usually probably 6 hard ones, 6 medium, 6 kind of gettable pins. So it's like taking advantage of the ones when you have a good number. And yeah, if you have a wedge and it's only 3 paces off the green, if it's a good number and a good pin for you can still be aggressive. But like a pin may suit a lefty more than a righty or whatever it may be. So it's kind of like each guy's going to have different pins that they can attack. But yeah, 3 paces it's definitely not a lot, especially with firm greens and fast greens, because if you short side yourself and then, chip it and you have a 10-footer down the hill, it's going to be tough with fast greens. So it's kind of just doing the right thing. A shot to 20 feet is never really bad. And hopefully just roll a couple in.
So are you going to just kind of stay based in Birmingham, or is there a move to Florida or anything in the works?
Yeah, I'm staying in Birmingham for now. I think I was in Florida the last couple of days, so probably like kind of in the winters maybe go down there for a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I've kind of fell in love with Birmingham. It's just fits my lifestyle, pretty low key, laid back. Weather's not always great, but I feel like the springs and falls are really nice. And then, yeah, I'm never going to complain about hot. Cold maybe make it tough, but it's a nice home base. There's a good group of guys to play with, and yeah, it feels like home for sure.
There's quite a few guys based in Birmingham that play out on the tour or are used to.
Got a good group of kind of 10 to 15 guys to play with, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're away from the course?
I think it definitely kind of depends on, what is going on. When I'm at home, I kind of take it pretty easily. I'll usually kind of work out in the mornings and we go to the course in the afternoon, but I'm still living at home right now. So obviously hang out with my parents and dogs and family. But yeah, fish a little bit in the summers. On the road, it's most of the time you're at the golf course most of the day, so it's kind of just hanging out with some buddies, going to dinner. And yeah, like for example, when we were in Utah, we went to Zion National Park and did a hike. So it's like kind of depends on where you are, but anything to kind of get your mind away from golf. And there's a time and place to sit on the couch, but sometimes it's definitely not always healthy. You want to find something that is going to like not tire you out, but still keep you a little active.
One thing I did want to kind of touch on, back in high school, you did a lot of philanthropic work. I think you had a tournament where you raised a bunch of money. How much has that kind of impacted you, and how much has your upbringing kind of sparked that?
For sure, yeah. Obviously been blessed with a lot of opportunity. And so, yeah, when we were through the AJGA, we started a tournament called the Alabama Cup, and it was 24 junior golfers from Alabama, and basically your entry fee, in a sense, was you had to raise $1,000. And so we had, through the 24 guys, the first year, I think I ran it for 3 years, and the 3 years I ran it, we raised about $170,000 for various charities and stuff. So it was, definitely good to just kind of get perspective. Growing up with a lot of opportunities, it's always good to give back. There's nothing that quite like feels like helping other people out. So definitely raised that way. With that at school, we would do various things as well. We go feed the homeless and a bunch of different things. So it's kind of been something that I've always held true to my heart. And then, hope to just continue that as well with pro golf and all the things I've been given.
How excited are you to get out to the Sony, and will you go out a week ahead of time?
I'm going to go out to Palm Springs a couple days before, and then just to cut the trip in half, get a little good weather before, and then it'll be straight to Sony, Palm Springs, and San Diego.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
One thing you can count on is good weather in Palm Springs this time of year.
That is true. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Gordon, we won't keep you any longer. We certainly want to thank you so much for carving out a few minutes of your day and for stopping by and supporting an Alabama podcast. We appreciate it so much.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right.
Hopefully we can get you back on after a win.
For sure. Yeah. Hopefully I'm not living at home still.
Well, let's get those wins. But, thanks again, and we'll hope to catch up with you again soon.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gordon.
Well, we want to thank Gordon Sargent again for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us on the Car Barn podcast. Always great to get insight from those guys on tour and what their lives are like. And we're looking forward to following Gordon this year. Hopefully we'll get him back on after he wins an event or something like that. Very nice young man.
I think that's
we're happy to.
Yeah, I think that'll happen soon.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. Of course, now with that said, we got another guest next week. A lot of people will know, not from a playing aspect, but from his time as a caddy. Damon Green's going to join us, better known as a caddy for Jimmy Green, and then best known for his time caddying for Zach Johnson, who got a couple of green jackets in his closet, among other things. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think everyone's going to enjoy this next week's guest, Damon. He'd share some stories from being on tour, being a caddy.
Yeah, I think most of the time you don't know who the guy's caddy is, and you may not know Damon Green as a name, but you know the guy that did his little bird imitation on the green. You say, "Oh, that's Damon Green." So yeah, we're looking forward to having him next week.
Yep. Well, thanks again for listening. Catch us again next week for another edition of the Cart Barn Podcast.